Hello and welcome to the shop. Today I have what I think may be a fun pen blank for you. I'm going to use a piece of Spectra-Ply, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice it up and then I'm going to glue it back together and rotate the individual pieces. I'm hoping it produces a really cool blank. Stick around, let's see what happens. I'm going to start by drilling this blank out. That should make the reassembly easier because I'll have a reference point with the hole to be able to properly line all the segments up. Now my drill bit is not long enough to go all the way through the blank, so we're going to drill in as far as we can, make our first few slices, and then when we get down toward the end of the blank, we'll come back and finish drilling all the way through. I'll be using this simple sled on my bandsaw, and I've set a stop block here that will allow me to cut 1/8 inch segments. With the blank cut, now we can start putting it back together. I numbered each of the sections as I cut them free from the main blank, and I drew a line down the right-hand side of the blank. What that lets me do is avoid things like mixing 6s and 9s and 2s and 5s. Now what I'm going to do is I used a 10-inch tube, 7mm tube. I put all of the pieces on the tube, and we're just slowly going to rotate the pieces one at a time until we get a pattern that we like all the way down the entire length of this tube. Here's my blank, and what I've done is I've just taken the pink from the bottom blank, lined it up with the blue from the next blank up, and so on and so on. They've kind of gotten a little bit moved out of shape as I've worked with it, but I think that's the pattern that I want, and it'll give me kind of a nice spiral pattern around the blank. What I want to do now is begin gluing each of these segments together. I took an old pen blank cutoff and I drilled a 7mm hole down the center of it, and then I took it to my sanding jig and flattened the top and the bottom. I've hot glued it to this sacrificial board, and I'm just waiting for the glue to fully cure and set up, and then we'll be able to start gluing together our blank. I think that makes for a really cool blank. Isn't that awesome? I'm just going to set this aside and let all that CA glue dry really well, and then we'll come back and we'll get the tubes trimmed up and we'll get this made into an ink pen. I've decided to go ahead and make a modified mechanical pencil, and the reason why is if you make a modified mechanical ink pen, generally the front tube needs to be removable so that you can press the nib and the transmission into it, and this turned out to be a single piece of brass tubes, so that sort of helped me make that decision. I'm going to go ahead and get this turned and we'll see what it looks like. I am really happy with how this is turning. It's turning extremely easy. However, I do want to make a comment, and that is when you're turning mostly air, so you don't want to go in there and just start hogging out. I'm way out here, and I just barely moved the tool in to where I could hear the tapping of the blank, and I'm making extremely light passes, and I'm just moving the tool in just a hair each time, because if you go in there and try to hog this out like you would a normal blank, you're going to rip those little pieces right apart. So take your time, turn that air, and it'll be okay. What I'm going to do now is we're going to go ahead and finish turning this down. I'll come back and show it to you again once it's completely trued up, and I think it's going to make an amazing blank. Just look at that. Here's another peek at the blank. Isn't that amazing? I really wish I would have put this on a fatter tube. I hope I don't lose too much of this going down to, the slimline mechanical style pencil, because it looks absolutely amazing. I love it. Initially, I was worried about losing some of the pattern because of the slimline being so small, but wow, I just absolutely love it. It looks amazing. This is ready to be sanded. I'm going to go ahead, shut the camera off. We'll sand this up. We'll get a finish put on it, and this is going to make a beautiful mechanical pencil. I can't wait to assemble it. I'll come back and show you guys what it looks like once it's assembled. A real quick tip, I don't want to lose any of this amazing color, so I'm going to clean this blank with a little denatured alcohol. And then I'm going to put a single coat once it dries, and we need to make sure it dries really well, but I'll put a single coat of thin CA glue on the blank. And what that will do is that will protect all of the colors so that as I sand, they don't bleed into one another, and it'll keep it'll allow the colors to really stay sharp and pop when the pen is polished up and finished. I'm just going to wipe that protective coat right on like I would a normal CA finish, and what that does is it soaks into the grain and protects. It's also going to give you kind of a little sneak peek at what this blank is going to look like. All right, I'm going to shut the camera off and finish sanding. I'll come back in a little bit. Here's a quick peek at the finished blank. Been assembled into a mechanical pencil kit. I think it turned out absolutely beautiful. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I had a great time making this blank. Spectra-Ply is very inexpensive and it's readily available. I just kind of had an idea to give it a try, and I just came out to the shop and went with it, and I was blown away at the results. I think this mechanical pencil is absolutely gorgeous. Well guys, let me know what you think down in the comments. I really appreciate you hanging out with me and watching my video. I want you to know that you are always welcome in my shop. Come back and see me again real soon. Have a great evening, everybody.